Hey nerds, we're going to deep dive into its full breakdown of the premiere of the live action Little Mermaid starting now. Welcome to the Nerd Social. I'm Colin.
And I'm Nathan.
So, this is a little bit different from all the things that we reviewed. I think we did a review of Raya and the Last Dragon, which is an not animated, but like computer generated movie. This is one of the first ones that we did with the live action ones that Disney's been doing of their animated stuff. So this movie is written by David McGee and Jane Goldman. The music is from Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, who were the music people from the original animated movie, as well as Lin-Manuel Miranda, who is everywhere in Disney right now, and it's directed by Rob Marshall. So I'm going to give you the spoiler-free tagline of The Little Mermaid is the story of Ariel, a beautiful and spirited young mermaid with a thirst for adventure. The youngest of King Triton's daughters and the most defiant, Ariel longs to find out more about the world beyond the sea, and while visiting the surface falls for the dashing Prince Eric. So, Nathan, what do you think about this live action remake? Because I know Disney has done a number of these already. So, what do you make of it?
I liked it. It's funny because my opinion of it would have been different on Monday than it is today when we're recording this because I saw Spider-Verse yesterday. So it doesn't compare to that movie. But standing on its own, I'm thinking of this movie not as a remake, but as an adaptation. So an adaptation of the original movie, which was animation. So as an adaptation, a live action adaptation of the original source material, and again, it's not like the source material by Hans Christian Andersen. It's the source material of that original animated movie.
Yes.
It actually stands on its own to a certain extent. It does some things that are a little bit different, and I appreciate that. It's not a perfect movie. The original movie was like pretty simple as well, but I think it's a pretty good movie. Again, not great, not excellent, but like the original Little Mermaid, I think was good. I think people have nostalgia attached to it and think it's a lot better than it probably was. I think the height of the Disney Renaissance, it wasn't the Little Mermaid. It was the beginning of the Disney Renaissance, but I think the height was probably The Lion King during the 90s. So the original animation wasn't necessarily something that I attached to that much. I know that a lot of women of our age did, but it wasn't my favorite Disney movie of that time when we were kids. So maybe that allowed me to release some baggage, or not have the baggage rather, associated with it, and just take this movie on as it appeared to me. So I think the standout in this movie is Halle Bailey. So the parts where I actually cried in this movie were what she was singing. Her voice is spectacular. Her rendition of Part of Your World, or Part of That World, because I think the lyrics are a little bit tweaked from the original one, not pining after a person as opposed to being part of that world. Yeah, she was great. She was really great. As a first-time actor, she was really good. Not a first-time actor, because I think she actually shows up in Grownish as well, the show Grownish. But she's really good, and they give her even more to sing than the original movie, because when she loses her voice, if you've watched the original movie, I guess that's not much of a spoiler. Like there's a point where she loses her voice. They still have an inner dialogue song for her. Yeah, I'm not sure who's watching this who's actually not seen the original movie, so I don't want to spoil it by mentioning things that happened in the original movie, but that's something that happens in the original movie. But if you've not seen either one of them, that would be a little bit of a spoiler. I think that where it might fall a little bit flat is some of the colors aren't as vibrant, but I think it's really difficult to get colors as vibrant as animation without it looking fake, like super fake, as opposed to like in green screening. Like we were talking a couple weeks ago, we were talking about Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And I remember when I was editing that video, I pulled a clip from that movie to illustrate what you were talking about, where there was more colors in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. But everything from that clip was like, it was obvious green screen. So I'm not sure how you get as vibrant colors in real life without it looking like fake CGI stuff that's going on in the background.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah. But, go ahead. Yeah, but all in all, I think I had a good time with the movie. When we talk about the ratings, we can talk about the ratings, but I think I had a fairly good time with the movie.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I think that it's definitely, I agree with you for most of it in terms of it's good, not great, not excellent. Definitely in terms of the other remix that they've done in the past, I would say it's in the middle of probably better than Beauty and the Beast, better than The Lion King, better than The Jungle Book. I would say that Aladdin is at the top in terms of the live action remakes. Comparatively speaking to this, I would put it at number two. Definitely some elements that are there that were more culturally appropriate for the times, and also I think that the performances in itself were very good. There, I would have to argue that in terms of the chemistry between Ariel and Eric, I had some issues. We could get to that in the spoiler part of the review, but individual acting was very good. Javier Bardem was good. Melissa McCarthy was good. Halle Bailey definitely owned her role as Ariel and make it her own. So in that, I really truly respect her work in it. But yeah, overall, I would say good, but not great. So that's my thoughts are about the live action remake. Nathan, what would you give it in terms of our rating system? How would you grade it overall?
So I was thinking about this. I went out and saw this movie because that's what we do. We review things here. But I
Yeah.
can't necessarily say, and I want to support Halle Bailey, especially all the crap that she's been getting. But like, after you were just going out this weekend and you hadn't seen it already, because my recommendation probably would have been the same, actually. No, so but if you're going out this weekend, you have Into the Spider-Verse as an option as well right now. But putting that aside, I'd probably give it a dinner party, which is R7 out of 10. Doesn't really require a road trip. I can't really give it a road trip. I don't think you need to go to the theater to see this. However, this is something that you might revisit. I want to watch it again just to see Halle Bailey's performances and the songs. I like the renditions of the songs in here in this version. Under the Sea, I liked their renditions. I don't think Under the Sea was as colorful as the one in the animated one, but it's still, I think it's still a really strong rendition of that song. And of course, her song, like I said, that made me cry was great. I think all the actors, for the most part, are doing a really good job. Not only can Halle Bailey sing, but the guy who's playing Eric can also sing, which is a plus because that's not always a thing that, as you said, with these live action adaptations, they haven't been good except for Aladdin. Like for Aladdin, I don't even know what they were doing with The Lion King. I tried to watch I tried to watch that, but I haven't gotten through the entire thing. Yeah. I think they actually did a really good job making Sebastian emote in this. I don't know if they did as well with Flounder, but they did actually a pretty good job with Sebastian. So yeah, I think it's dinner party, a film worth watching and dissecting with friends at home over good food and wine. So that's where I put it.
I also struggle with rating because, like you said, I want to support this movie because of Halle Bailey. I know that the trolls are out there. I really want to support it, but there were some things that were there that I really did not. I thought that them going very real with the creatures was a mistake, but I understand why. Flounder just looks weird to me. Sebastian just looks weird to me, but I understand what they're trying to do, and they did a good job of doing it in a way where it's realistic. Scuttle, I think that was actually a very good job, I would say, in terms of the design and things like that. But you can't really animate a crab or a flounder. It's hard to do because those two are just so iconic from the animated version. And so I think for me, because of that, and also I really didn't buy the love between Eric and Ariel. Not that the two actors aren't great. They're good and it's like separately, they're good. I think, like you said, Eric, the person who played Eric, Jonah Howard King, he actually, I would say, knocked it out of the park with his solo. Was like really good. I was like, he's a strapping guy, and he's just a strapping guy, and he sings really well. I didn't buy the love story that much. So for me, because of that, it just knocks it down a little bit. But because of Halle Bailey, it knocks it back up. So I would say 8 out of 10. So not 7, but 8 out of 10.
So
road trip, I would say it would be a good approximation in
Yeah.
terms of where I'm at with this movie. So
Yeah, I might argue with you a little bit about the chemistry. When we break it down, and we don't have a whole lot of time to talk about this, but when we break it down, I want to get your thoughts because I never understand what people mean when they say chemistry. But you watch more of these romantic things. I think we were talking about you being a fan of on Netflix. I forget the series with the letters.
The letters. What was it? Was it Shadow and Bone? No, not
No, the girl who to all the ones I love, all the boys. Yeah. So you watch those kinds of things. And I watch romantic comedies, but I don't watch like romance sort of things. So like maybe you could explain to me what you mean by chemistry because when we get into it. Yeah.
No problem. But yeah, that's definitely something that I'll address. But again, if you like the content that we are presenting, please like and subscribe. It really helps us out with the algorithm. So thank you so much for all of that you do to try to support us. And so give you a spoiler warning here. So again, spoilers are ahead. Okay, so I think that I broke this up into three acts. I think that I am going to assume that most of you have either watched the animated movie on Disney Plus or just some have already seen some of the live action already. Hopefully that you have. So,
Like a 30-year-old movie.
yeah, 30-year-old movies. Act one is pretty much the same in terms of the plot points. Like she starts off, she's very curious about the world. King Triton has this grand gathering. They call it the Coral Moon. It's live action version. The sisters are a little bit different from the sisters
I
in
mean,
the
they're not all
animated.
white. Every
Yeah, exactly.
mermaid and merman in the movie
Yeah,
was white. So yes,
right,
you get a
right,
more international feel, and they're actually the
exactly.
sisters from the Seven Seas, which I appreciated the little touches that they added to fill out the world and make it a little bit more real, since they were making it live action in the world in the first
Correct.
place. Those little details made it seem
Right.
like real care that was put into if you were trying to create a fantasy world, like a fantasy show or something, like a fantasy movie. Those little details, because you can think of this as like an alternate Earth if you wanted to, like a fantasy Earth. So yeah.
So it's definitely they've added, like I said in the non-spoiler part, the meat and the bones are all there. It's pretty much the same plot, but they did go around the edges. They make things a little bit more culturally relevant. They made things a little bit. Some people would argue it's woke, but it's definitely not woke. It's just, dude, come on, it's not really that. It's just trying to make it to try to change some things here and there around the edges. And so back to the movie itself, there's a gathering, then Ariel's not there, she's off wandering to her secret hiding place, and of course Triton, her father, was not really happy about that. He's, what's going on here, why are you doing this? And so this is like the first interaction between the two. There's tension. It's like similar to the animated movie. And then we went to the part where Ariel sees the fireworks. They did the Power Your World thing first, the song.
Yeah,
Right
I don't
before
remember if that was
fireworks.
before. I think so that's one of the changes. And actually there are a couple changes.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
the gathering with the daughters, like you said, they actually give it a reason. And he's trying
Right.
he's trying, because they are responsible for different seas around the globe, and they're meeting to report to him, as opposed to in the cartoon, there's just this giant banquet and you see a lot more mermaids. It's like a concert hall. I think that I appreciate like the adjustments that they made there, because him coming in on like a horse carriage pulled by seahorses would be ridiculous. Seahorses aren't that large. And then Sebastian coming in on his little thing. Again, those are the kind of things that you can put in animation that just look too silly in live action. I appreciate them paring it down to a more intimate thing and giving it a reason for them meeting, reporting about what's happening in their region of the world.
Right.
I think the other thing that they changed is the shark thing.
Yeah, they did.
And they changed it a little bit where she uses the mirror to trick the. I don't remember. I haven't seen the movie in a long time.
I think in the animated one that it was that they trapped it somehow through like chain or something like that. I don't remember if that was the case.
Yeah.
So then I think after she sings "Part of That World," what happened?
Yeah, part
She
of that
goes
world
towards
instead
the
of part of
surface.
your world.
Yeah. She sees the fireworks. She decides to go investigate. Very similar to the animated movie. Finds about Eric. So the whole interaction between Eric's dog and Ariel was still there, which I really actually enjoyed, because like it was very endearing in the animated movie. They replayed that a little bit. There's a little bit.
Did she help the dog in the anime? I don't think she did. I think that was an addition to this movie. Like the dog was drowning and she helped the dog. Is that something that was in the anime?
No, in the animated, it was just Eric that rescued Max the dog. It was and then I just saw the other thing. So yeah.
So it wasn't her. Okay, because I saw some analysis of this to show how she was hesitant. And the first thing that she was actually save the animal, and then she decided to save him, which is an interesting change from the original, to show how. I think the other thing that I think was also, this is why I was talking about why I'm not sure I agree with the chemistry thing. Like it made no sense whatsoever. The original one, that she just looked at him and she was like in love. I mean, it made sense, I guess, for a cartoon, but I understood. But like those decisions are the reasons that movie gets a lot of flack.
Whereas, I totally agree with that. That's just he's so handsome. And it's
kind of love at first sight, and then after she sees him, she sings the "Part of Your World" thing. But it's different here. She says "part of that world" before she sees him, and also the reason that she likes him is because he's saying very similar things. He has a very similar world. She also hears that he's a prince. He's trying to break out of the mold of what's expected of him. I can see her in this movie falling in love with the idea of him, not just the idea of him, but who he specifically, what he stands for. Not just here, but they give him a cave very similar to hers. That's not something they had in the original one. It's like there's more depth here to the relationship than in the animated movie.
I do agree with that, but I think that part I would agree with you in terms of setting that up, the commonalities, the connection that's there. I think that's definitely real. But I think that what I push back on is like their interactions afterwards. The connection is there, but then afterwards is and we can go into that with the second act, is do the horse carriage. It's nice, it's fun, it's like a first date, it's nice. But it's like it doesn't seem as though it's like there's any type of connection there or anything like that. I thought that when on the boat, it was just like, okay, they're on a boat.
At the very end, you mean?
No, they were on the boat with the Kiss the Girl song.
Okay,
Like, oh, it's not really, there's not really any type of, that's what I mean when I say chemistry. It's almost like they're like going through the motions.
All right, we can get to that when we get to, because we don't want to talk about this for an hour.
So the animated part and the live action part is pretty similar. She rescues him and basically she sings a song again. There's still some differences in that the soldiers come in this time instead of Max and Grimsby, the servant. But I also want to say that there's definitely much more, like you said, Nathan, much more depth to Eric. An animated one.
They give him a song.
They give him a song. There's definitely some depth to him. Like he feels trapped in a lot of ways. It's very similar to her situation where he's like the son of royalty, adopted royalty, but at the same time, it's like they both have the same type of trapped feeling.
They also tried to mirror the king and the queen as well, like her distrust of the sea and his hatred for humans because of what happened to her mother, which I think was just implicit in the cartoon, but it's more explicit in the movie in the live action movie that humans killed her. So yeah,
right. So there's definitely that type of connection. I definitely credit them for putting in more of that substance into Eric, because he's just a very one-dimensional character in the animated movie. So then once she visited the surface, so of course Sebastian was there. Clown was there, and he kept the secret from Triton, from the king, and of course he had to spill the beans. It wasn't as playful; it was like more to the point. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
What do you mean? Then, wasn't playful? I'm sorry.
In the animated, it was more he was withholding information. In both cases, he's withholding information, but it was like more in the animated one is more playful. It's more. Oh, you better tell me this, or you're going to be in trouble. Whereas this one is more
he blurts it out. Because he's obviously in the animated one. Is he asking about potential boy as well, or merman as well?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So that's okay. So it's the same setup. It's just that the delivery by Javier Bardem, he's not gonna.
No, he's definitely a straight shooter. Yeah, definitely in that regard. So then he finds out her hiding place.
You broke the rules. You went to the above world.
A man was drowning. I had to save him.
This obsession with humans has to stop.
And destroys the statue, destroys all her possessions, and basically it's very similar to the animated movie in that regard. And then she wanders off to go see Ursula the Sea Witch. Now, there's definitely been some things about Ursula, who's played by Melissa McCarthy. Yeah, and I think that in terms of casting, great. I would say it's definitely.
I think she does an exceptional job. She's one of the highlights of the movie for me.
I can help you. You can't live in that world unless you become a human yourself.
Is that even possible?
It's what I live for.
But I don't know what people.
I mean,
her musical number was good. She's not trying to do an exact impression of the original one. I think the original one was based upon a drag queen, I think Divine. So she's not trying to do a Divine impression, but she's sufficiently evil. She's not over the top. Like I think the voice actor tried to embody like the Divine over the topness, and she wasn't trying. I don't think she was trying to do that. She was trying to do a different thing. But she seems sufficiently evil and also funny because Melissa McCarthy. I don't know. I like again, adaptation, not remake.
I think that for both Triton, who's played by Javier Bardem, and also Melissa McCarthy, they think they hit the right notes. They did what was given to them, and they did it exceptionally and professionally and all that. So I think that it's very hard. You said it's very hard to imitate the voice actors from the animated movie 30 years ago, especially Ursula, who's a very iconic Disney villain. And so I think I saw something online. It's like there wasn't really a villain in this live action remake, and I'm like, no, there was a villain. What are you talking about? It's like it's pretty obvious Ursula's a villain just because she's the aunt of,
Yeah, they
she's
also added her
Ariel.
as an aunt. Yeah.
So
But
it's
yeah,
like,
there was a giant kaiju at the end of this movie. I don't know what movie they
Yeah.
watched. Like,
I
I
don't
was
know
talking to my wife about this earlier. I feel like this movie has melted people's brains. You either have some white people saying that a mermaid can't be black, a mermaid does not exist. Or I saw an article on The Root earlier today talking about some black people saying that this erased slavery. Again, mermaids don't exist. This is a fantasy world. This movie has melted people's brains and they're just talking nonsense.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me. I just think that just people are they're just, I think, snowflaking in a lot of ways. And it's just, can you just enjoy it for what it is? It's like, no, there's no enjoyment anymore. It's just, it has to be this or it has to be that. It has to be political. And it's not. Can it just be a movie in some ways? Anyways, I digress. So she went to Ursula. It's very similar. They played the Poor Fortune song, which is a really great song. Another iconic song. Melissa McCarthy did it in her own way, which is great too. So yeah,
I like the
that's
CGI
definitely
in this movie is not great all the way through, but I think the CGI on her is really good. Like her bioluminescent tentacles, it looks really cool. So yeah.
I agree, definitely. And there was one line I remember from the animated movie about body language, and it's like they definitely took that out. Oh, they took that out. All right.
I think there was also a line about how on the surface world they prefer women not to speak anyway. I think they took that.
That would have been very bad. Considering again, this is what we talked about with terms of cultural relevancy, cultural.
Yeah, I mean the culture has shit. Yeah, the culture.
Exactly.
So yeah, and I feel like people have a cow about these things, but if someone in the '90s, when The Little Mermaid came out, was doing blackface or yellowface in a movie, it would be an issue. I'm not sure why people have such a cow about the culture shifting and making adjustments for the culture shifting, because the culture shifted from the 50s when they were regularly doing blackface and yellowface in movies from the 90s again in the next 30 years. So
yeah, it makes no sense. I think that just people just want to I think that people that nostalgia and think it's going to be the same thing. It's not the same thing. We've reviewed so many things in terms of nostalgic things. You're not going to try to recreate what you grew up with. It's just not. It's just not happen. It's going to be because of the cultural shifts that happened in our world. You're not going to get the same thing. And if you want to get the same thing, you just go back to the old movie. That's what it is. So she makes the deal. It's very similar to the deal that was in the animated.
With an extra caveat, right? Like she doesn't know that she's supposed to kiss the boy, basically, in this.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. She didn't know, but it was very similar to that. And then this is where this is kind of like I would say the end of the first act. You go with the second act where this kind of deviates from the animated version. I know that in the animated version there was a song, Lake Plus song, which was like it was comedic stuff like that. They took that all out. They pretty much made it as though it was like more of a connection between the two. Like you said, Nathan, it was like connection between Eric and Ariel, where Eric had his own kind of hiding spot, hiding place in the castle, and all these kind of wonderful treasures and things. And so they did a good job of trying to establish the fact that they had a connection. And I really appreciate that. It's not just like on the surface type of interaction.
Yeah, they liked each other as people because of the specifics of their personalities, which is not what was in the original one. The original ones, they were all service level. They like each other because they look great.
Right, exactly. And they actually added a lot of the townspeople there at the carriage. It did remind me a little bit of Enchanted. In some ways, like the whole feel of it was very Enchanted. So, which was not as well done as the first Enchanted there, but still pretty good. It's not. Right. It's Disney, so it's like they always have these type of light, fluffy things that happens. You try to establish that connection, but like I said, like in the beginning where I just didn't feel it. I was just like, they're just there. And it's like, they're just going through the motions. And then when they got on the boat, it's like, they just got to go through the motions of that.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think the part where she teaches him her name is pretty cute because they spend, I think, the time when they're like poring over maps and actually starting to get to know each other and starting to like each other because they both have an adventurous kind of spirit. That was pretty cute as well. Those are the two things that stand out to me in my mind. The carriage ride was whatever. It was her just like in the carriage ride and she's trying to like see more of this work. Because like, she's been want you to know about this world for her entire life. So like it has less to do with him. And when she's given the reins, she definitely takes the reins and then speeds off because she wants to see more of the island. But yeah, them pouring over maps and like looking at stars, and then her specifically using that information to tell him her name, because I think in the Sebastian tells him, which kind of breaks the movie a little bit, because he can't hear the animals any other time except for when Sebastian tells him the name. So anyway,
yeah. I mean, there's some good nuggets here and there that I did appreciate, but I think that after that, when they, especially on the boat ride, I was just like, they just, in some way, to me, they just went through the motions there. It didn't feel they were, they had some connection, but it's not. Are you gonna marry that person? I don't think so.
I don't know. It's a Disney movie. Like the marriage is probably, it's like they filled in a lot of things that were just left blank and to fill out the world, but the ending was pretty much going to be, although it's not clear that they actually get married because there's no wedding. There's no wedding.
True.
They go off together. So it's possible that they didn't get married. Like they go off together to adventure, and maybe they get married after this gets a sequel. I don't know. There's a whole lot. Like I said, this movie has broken people's brains, and a lot of people are supporting it in the U.S., but apparently even in other countries where they're not majority white, the fact that she's black is breaking their brains. They'd rather it be a white person with red hair. So we'll see if they'll get the green light for a sequel. And if they get the green light for a sequel, we might find out they didn't get married. They just went off together because they liked each other and they adventured, and they get married in the next movie.
I think that's how I felt about it. It's just that they're maybe good friends. They may have some connection, but romantically, I don't know. There's going to be type of romantic stuff that happens. Maybe there is. Who knows? But like you said, it's a Disney movie. We can speculate all we want, but at the end of the day, it's just it's all fantasy. It's all fantasy.
Yeah, I wasn't watching clear enough to see whether or not she got the grandmother's ring, because he was going to marry Ursula. Ursula was using the siren song, which I think was another addition to this movie. Like I don't think the siren song was in the cartoon. So, but it's not clear to me whether or not he married Ariel. And I think I can imagine a version of this where she has a whole scene saying, let's adventure together and we'll see how this goes. And they knew that wasn't going to test well. And they just had that happen off scene. And the implication is that you can believe whatever you want at the end, but there wasn't an explicit marriage scene. So you can think either way, really, whether or not they get married.
And personally, I think that's fine. I think that's perfectly fine with me, because I think that we've evolved in terms of relationships to understand that it doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic relationship. It can just be like a friendly type of thing. I don't know.
Or something that can develop into something romantic over time. Yeah. Like you said, I think that it was a very short period of time. It was over days. So, which, is something that happens in fairy tales all the time. If you're trying to communicate something different to this generation of girls, maybe not married someone that you met a week ago. So that's probably why they cut the marriage scene and only imply. And so I think they only implied that they get married for the older people who need that. They don't put the explicit marriage in the movie for the younger people who are watching it, who aren't attached to that and probably shouldn't get the message that they should marry someone that they met a week ago.
And also, we do have to point out that in the animated movie, she was 16 years old when she got married, and that's actually wrong to do in this country. That's actually wrong.
Yeah, so I don't know
the age of consent. So.
No, it depends on the state, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, okay, that is true.
But I don't know how old she is in this one, but yeah.
No, they didn't really say. I think that they just left it very vague in terms of teenager, and then I think it's early. Yeah. But still, that's still a little icky.
At least they didn't explicitly say she was 16. He was like 20 something.
Yeah, that would have been problematic. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, going back to the plot. So basically, they were the boat ride. They did the Kiss the Girl song very similarly. Ursula then finds out that, oh my gosh, this is getting to be too close. So then she did the same thing as in the animated movie, where she turns into this beautiful woman or whatever, Vanessa, and basically hypnotizes Eric into marrying her. I think in this part, I think they fumbled it a little bit. They rushed this a little bit to try to get to the end. So I think that they just made sure, let's just get to this so that we can get to the end.
This is also where they added the new Lin-Manuel Miranda song, Scuttlebutt, which the rap song.
Aquafina.
Yeah, which I only heard once. So I don't know. There are some people that hate it. I don't know if I hate it. I haven't heard it. I'd have to hear it again to see whether or not it's...
it's Aquafina is very divisive at times in terms of like people liking her and people not liking her.
Yeah.
There are different various issues. So it's...
She didn't do it in a black set, but she did a rap, which is how she got famous in the first place. So it's just as long as she doesn't do a black scent as a bird at an animated movie. It's actually, she plays a lot of voices now. She was in
Yeah, she
Riot.
does.
She was in Riot too, right?
Yeah, she was Sisu. She was
Yeah.
Sisu and Ryan. Yep.
Yeah.
She does quite a bit of voices. We just did a birthday post of her. I think her birthday is today, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's But anyways, I didn't mind it. It was like I saw something online that people didn't like her rapping. It ruined the movie for them. I'm like, come on, stop. You know who she is. You know who she is. She is going to be, whether you like her or not, just you're going to accept, that type of thing.
I feel like you get Aquafina and you get, what's his name, Dabi Diggs, who both are known for rapping specifically. I think can resist putting a number together so they can rap together. Which is fine. Right. It's just one. And like I said, I have to hear it again if it's good or not.
Yeah. So then what happens is that Eric's hypnotized, basically like in a trance, and then they rushed into some sort of engagement party and stuff. And so put that together really quickly, and everyone's shocked, and he's doubting himself at times. It's better than him being totally hypnotized in the animated movie. He was kind of like doubting himself. Is this really the one person? Is this the person that I really thought about from the Siren song? I don't really know. So they did put in some doubt into his head a little bit. And then in this one, I think that Ariel and Ashley fought, or Vanessa/Ursula fought each other. Whereas in the original one, it was more comedic, where Scuttle was like beating her up. Some of the sea creatures were beating her up, like trying to expose her as a con artist. And,
it wasn't much of a fight. I think they just just grabbed the what you call it.
But in any case, it's just so it's like she turns back to a mermaid. He finds out he's out of the trance and things like that. And Act 3 is pretty much very similar to the animated movie, with the exception of the fact that Ariel was the one who killed Ursula. So in the original, Eric killed her.
I don't think Triton dies in the original one though. He died. Right. He dies in this one, and then she brings him back. She temporarily, and she brings him back. Yeah. Which makes sense, because if you're going to kill him, having her bring him back makes sense, because it's her trying to save her father as opposed to like Eric doing it. She mentioned he gave an assist, so
exactly. So it's much more kind of, again, the empowerment and much more, she's taking more of initiative and things like that in her life. Whereas I think that in the original, I would have to say that in the original, yes, there's definitely some things that are questionable, but at the same time, the fact that that Ariel was very heroic in her own right in the animated movie, I think it's still, at the time, it was definitely. But now, because we are where we are right now, so we have to make those changes. Right. So yeah, so actually that was pretty much it. Any kind of final thoughts in terms of the movie overall?
No, we talked about the end. The other part that I cried about is just the end when he hugged her. And then the mer people came out. Again, I didn't remember that from the original one. I think it's in the original one too, but it made me cry a little bit in this one. It was sweet because he hated them so much because of the loss of his wife. So yeah, those are the two times I cried to the movie. Like her singing and in the very end, it was very. And I've seen analysis of this movie, also original movie, that people who say that she lost her voice for a man or whatever, missed the point. Like the real meat of this movie is really the father-daughter relationship. So seeing that resolution at the end, like that's the A plot of the movie, and I think that is still the A plot of this movie. Like her conflict with him is resolved, and they actually in this movie add a conflict with Eric and his mother, and that's resolved through that ending with the two peoples coming together. So
one final thing that I would want to say is that they did a very good job of kind of like giving her a voice, even though she didn't have a voice, with the singing in the second act. I think that was really good creative license that they did. Very good in that way, that you give her a voice, even though she had lost a voice. So that's like my general impression of the final impression of the movie. But this is what we think about The Little Mermaid, the live action remake. Tell us how you think. So please like and subscribe if you like more content like this, and we will see you next time on Spider-Verse. We're going to do that very soon. So talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.